What's going on, everyone? This is Kevin here, coming at you with my hands-on and first impressions video of the Google Pixel 8a. So without further ado, let's get started. So this is the Google Pixel 8a. Now I am part of Team Pixel, and this phone is a gift from Google, but all opinions expressed in this video are completely my own. Now the Pixel 8a recently launched, and hence the name of it, this phone is the successor to last year's Pixel 7a. Now I will be comparing those two devices in a separate video, but overall the Pixel 8a is more of an evolution rather than a complete redesign compared to its predecessor. The form factor is a bit different and new here with the Pixel 8a, but in many ways many of the specifications have been carried over from the previous model. The good news though is that the Pixel 8a is better than the 7a in pretty much every metric, or at least equal, so there's really no reason to buy that phone over this phone unless you can save some money. Now before we get too far into things here with the Pixel 8a, let's see what all comes included in the box. So here's the box, you can see right there, Pixel 8a, and there is a photo of the phone. Now the phone is being offered in other colors as well, so definitely take a look at the link in the video description to see all your various options. But basically in the box we're not getting a whole lot included. We are though getting a double-sided USB-C cable for charging and data transfer. We're also getting a USB OTG adapter, which sometimes can be convenient. And then there is some literature in here, and then we're also getting a SIM card removal tool. Now since there is no USB wall adapter included, you will have to provide one on your own. But keep in mind as well is that the Pixel 8a can recharge at up to 18 watts, and in order to get that full fast charging speed, you will have to use a wall adapter that actually is compatible with 18 watts or higher. You can definitely use a lower wattage wall adapter, but keep in mind that you're not going to be able to charge the phone nearly as fast as it is capable of being charged at. Now the Pixel 8a does feature an MSRP of $499, so it is a little bit on the expensive side, especially for a mid-range smartphone. Keep in mind though that there are various promotions that are offered from time to time, and who knows, maybe this phone will also make its way over to some carriers at some point. So there are some different ways you might be able to save some money in the future, and of course, take a look at the link in the video description, as you will be able to see the most up-to-date pricing for this device, because it's really hard to predict what it'll be offered at in the future. Now this device features a 6.1-inch display, and it does feature Corning Gorilla Glass 3, so that does make it decently durable. The display itself is OLED and does feature a 120Hz refresh rate. Now keep in mind though that if you want to get that full refresh rate, you need to go to the settings here, and then once you're over to there, go down to display, and then go down to where it says smooth display, enable that, and then you'll now notice that faster, smoother refresh rate. So it really does make a big difference. The Pixel 7a actually had a 90Hz refresh rate, and I can notice the difference from 90Hz to 120. Now for your typical smartphone user, this feature might not be necessarily that big of a deal, but at the same time you may as well use it. Keep in mind though that by putting the phone in 120Hz, it will use up a bit more battery life compared to just 60Hz. Now the display on this device is 1080p, we're getting a PPI 430, we're getting a 20:9 aspect ratio, and we're getting an 81.6% screen to body ratio. So this time around we are getting rounded corners compared to the more squared off corners of the 7a, and in some ways that's a downside because you are losing out on a bit of screen real estate, but on the other hand, these rounded corners do make the phone very comfortable to hold. And while the bezels are a bit bigger here compared to your typical flagship smartphone, everything still looks very nice, and the bezels are still pretty small. Now up top here on the Pixel 8a, we do have a hole punch for the front-facing camera, and that front camera is 13 megapixels. Now stay tuned for my full review video of this device, as I'll be showing you a variety of different photo and video samples from all the various cameras here in the phone. But overall, so far, I have been very impressed with the photo and video quality. Now internally with the Pixel 8a, we're getting 128GB of storage, and unfortunately there is no microSD card expansion. So just know that other than cloud storage, you are stuck with 128GB of storage on this phone, and there's no ability to add more. Now I do feel like in 2024, 128GB of storage is probably plenty for most people. I certainly would not go for a phone that has less storage than 128GB, just because you won't have much space for your various apps. And believe it or not, but in 2024, apps are pretty large. I mean, it seems like Facebook nowadays is like 4 or 5 gigabytes. So it really does add up once you add quite a few applications to your device. Now another nice bonus of the Pixel 8a is that there is wireless charging at up to 7.5 watts. So if you do want to put the phone on a wireless charger, you certainly do have that ability here. Now in addition to having Face Unlock, this phone also has an in-display fingerprint sensor, so that works really well. It's nice and fast and responsive. Let's try that one more time. And there you go, you can see that does work great. And then taking a look at the cameras on the back of the phone, we do have a dual camera setup with a 64 megapixel main camera and a 13 megapixel ultra wide angle camera that can capture images at up to 120 degrees. Now here's how things look on the camera app on the device. This is with the main rear camera right now. Then from here we can go over to 0.5 to access that ultra wide camera. And then with the ultra wide, as you can see, we can fit a lot more content into a single frame. Then from there, we can go over to portrait mode to get those nice blurred out backgrounds. We can also flip around to the front facing camera and take portrait selfies. So there's me right there. We can also capture standard selfies as well. And then video recording with the Pixel 8a does max out at 4K with both the front and rear cameras. And then with the rear camera, it maxes out at 60 FPS for 4K and then 30 FPS for the front. Now with this device, we're getting 8 GB of RAM paired up with the Google Tensor G3 processor. So the previous 7a had the G2, so this time around we are getting one newer generation of the Tensor. And then the G3 is the same processor that is in the Pixel 8 Pro. So just know that even though this phone is meant to be a more mid-range device compared to those flagship phones, we are still getting the same processor here. And then what's great with that is that we are getting really good performance, of course. Now I did run a benchmark test using Geekbench 6, and here are the scores that I got. I got a single core score of 1672 and a multi-core score of 4450. So what I recommend doing is running this test on your current phone and then compare your scores to these scores to see how the Pixel 8a compares. But overall, one of my favorite things with Google's A series for their Pixel phones is that we are getting phones that are a bit more powerful compared to your typical mid-range device. Now, as I mentioned before, with this device, we are getting up to 18 watt fast charging, and then the battery here is a 4,492 milliamp hour battery. So we are getting a pretty large battery here with the phone, and then having that fast charging with it really does make things even better here. Now, the software on this device is Android 14 out of the box, which is great. And if you are familiar with Pixel devices, they're the first to get major Android software updates directly from Google, since Google is the creator of this phone. So that is a really nice selling point here. Now, another awesome selling point is that this phone does have NFC, so if you do want to use Google Pay for tap and pay, you can certainly do that here with this device. But now that I've gone over a lot of the various highlights of the Google Pixel 8a, let's take a closer look at the actual phone itself. Now on the left side of the device, we have just the slot for the SIM card. Then on the right side of the phone, we have the power button, volume up and volume down. Then up top here, we have the noise canceling microphone. And then on the bottom of the phone, we have the microphone, USB-C port for charging and data transfer, and the speaker. And then with this device, we are getting stereo audio, and that really makes a big difference if you're watching videos or listening to music, as you're getting audio out of both the main speaker, but then also the earpiece as well, giving you a more immersive and richer sound experience. And then on the back of the phone, we have the camera module, flash, and Google logo, and that's pretty much it. I'm definitely a fan of this matte finish on the back of the phone, by the way, because it really doesn't pick up too many fingerprints at all. But in conclusion, I'm very excited about the Google Pixel 8a. I think this phone is going to be very successful, and I'm certainly looking forward to knowing what you think about the phone. Also, stay tuned for future videos about this device, as I have quite a few of them planned. But with all that said, this is Kevin here, and I will see you in the next one. Thanks again, Team Pixel, for sending this phone out to me, and with all that said, have a great rest of your day.